was not in it for the fame. I was not obsessed with reality shows, wanting to be famous. Let's go into this with a business mind and see what can happen.
Rosie Fortescue is a British entrepreneur, fashion influencer, and star on hit reality show Made in Chelsea. Unintentionally, Rosie found herself at the centre of what the media labelled as one of the most iconic moments in reality TV history, and she has never set the record straight until now.
And I was abused by the country. And then suddenly everyone's like, you're a and I'm like, okay, that's funny because I'm actually not. Yeah, I mean, it was savage at times. I got like savaged by friends.
Rosie has since went on to launch Rosie Fortescue Jewellery, an incredibly successful global brand with a huge cult following.
But for me, I got out what I wanted to get out. I built my business, I bought a property, I had enough money saved to start my business. And those were my two aims. And I really, really love it.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much.
I feel like this is overdue. I've been like stalking your stories for so long, it feels like.
Me too. Yeah, I think it's been years and years and years. Yeah.
I love it. Well, welcome. I'm so excited to meet you. I have so many questions, but I want to start with, I've been reading a lot about you coming up to this podcast because I'm always so interested what makes people get into business, because I feel like entrepreneurship is not for everyone.
Yeah.
It's for a very specific demo of people. And so I'm curious, with your upbringing, how do you think that informed your decision to become an entrepreneur?
So I also think the same thing as you. I think you're either born with it or you're not. It's like takes a specific type of person to really want to just do it all and throw themselves in. I have a twin sister, and I genuinely think that having a twin really made us push ourselves. We kind of had to be individuals. We had to do our own thing. And my mum was actually amazing and separated us after nursery. So we weren't the twins. We had our own identities. We were Rosie and Lily, not the twins. And I think genuinely, I really think that helped us strive to be our own people, want to do our own things, and like go out and get what we wanted.
Separated you? What do you mean? Just like made sure no one was calling you the twins? How did that look?
So we were actually in separate years.
What?
Well, I don't know whether I could say this. There's actually a story that my sister was like getting me to carry her school bag into school. Can you cope? When we were like 3, and my mum was like, oh, okay, I might separate them. So I went into the year above, but then we went to the same boarding school out of London when we were 11, and we are the best of best friends now. And I think just those early years, it was just really nice to have that separation a little bit and just be individuals as if we were in different years, as opposed to just being the same person and also being comfortable around each other. I think it was really nice to have that space to grow.
Yeah, that actually makes total sense, because I was really close friends with twins in my early years in nursery and primary school. And I actually remember they did try and have their separate friends and their own groups. And that was so, I can totally see why you would want to do that. You want your identity to be separate. I'm curious, what was it like growing up in London? You know, I feel like when you grow up in a big city, I didn't. When you grow up in a big city, you're around people doing a lot of things. From a young age, were you seeing that and were you inspired by that?
Well, we left London at 11 to go to boarding school. We would always come to London at the weekends. But very early on, I realized that I didn't want to do the same as what all of my friends and everyone from my boarding school did. So it was very like, you know, to go on, take a gap year, make money, go traveling, then go to Leeds or Newcastle or Bristol University and binge drink £1 drinks for 3 years.
That was me.
And I just was just like, I could do that in London. I just felt if I was going to reside myself to a gap year and then 3 years out of London, like I saw London as like the working world. I thought if I go and do 4 years away from London, I'm going to feel so disconnected. And we had a really good friend actually from our school that had a house in Brazil. She grew up in Brazil. So all of my sister and lots of my friends started their gap year there. So I ended up getting a job with them at the same time as in London as I started university, because obviously you only have a few lectures a week. And then I went to Brazil with them and sort of started their gap year with them. I went to Brazil for 2 weeks, which was so lovely to get that kind of traveling fix. And then I just went to university, and I was so happy to be in London and working. And I had a Saturday job in a cupcake shop, and I just worked wherever I could just to make money. But also I just liked feeling like I was in the real world.
So did you have that from a young age, like that sense to want to be independent, not necessarily do what everyone else was doing?
Yeah, I didn't feel the need to follow everyone else. And I kind of, in a way, I guess everyone took gap years. Everyone went to university out of London, mostly, well, all of my friends anyway. I kind of really just wanted to do something different, be in London, get to work. I didn't want to actually even go to university, but it was just so encouraged by my boarding school that I ended up going. But I thought, best of both worlds, if I'm in London, I'll kind of feel like, I'm in the thick of it.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And did going to boarding school at 11, do you think that instilled in you a sense of independence as well, to be away from home?
I'm sure it did, actually. I've always been pretty self-sufficient and independent, but definitely. But also, I have the most incredible group of friends from my boarding school. It was all girls. We've got a really lovely friendship. It's girls that I don't have to see 10 times a year. I can see them once or twice a year, and we're still so close. And you really have that lovely, lovely, deep friendship because we grew up together. We were at school from 11 to 18. So
I love that. Yeah, you're like each other's family
yeah,
in that
absolutely.
situation. I love that. So, okay, going into university years, you started working, you went back to London, you were starting to work. When did that entrepreneurial itch start to come around for you?
So I was at university. I was doing a history of art degree at Goldsmiths. My dad's in the art world. I'd always loved contemporary art. And for me, it just felt like the right degree. And then I was just working. I was doing little odd jobs here and there. I was working in a cupcake shop. I worked at Joe Malone. I worked at All Saints on the King's Road. Anywhere I could just make money and work 2 days a week whilst I was at university, I did. And then I was interning. And what I really, really hated was that, you go and work wherever you work, you're starting at the bottom and you're interning, and someone says to you, I don't know, sort out that filing cabinet because the person before you did a really shit job. And I just thought, why do I keep going into these companies where I'm just like making things right for people before from a crap job that someone did before me? And I'm super organized and super just really neat and tidy and everything. And I thought, I'm doing such a good job of this. What's the person after me going to do? They're going to have a great time. They're coming in. It's all been sorted and fixed. And I just thought, why do I keep going into these companies and I'm just sort of fixing other people's problems who've done a crap job before me? And it was really good to get experience, but I just knew deep down that I really wanted to be able to start my own business, and that was going to be the goal.
So I was reading about your Made in Chelsea journey, and one thing I read, I don't know if you said it or was in an interview, you had said you went into the show knowing you wanted to go in there and build a brand. Is that right?
Yeah. So I actually did the pilot for the show. So I was one of the first, and then kind of brought lots of people in. That enabled me to have the, I guess, control to kind of not date on the show and not make it about that for me. Mm-hmm. That was never what I was going onto the show for. I was reserved. I was not in it for the fame. I was not obsessed with reality shows, wanting to be famous and get airtime. It was a very competitive environment. I am not competitive. And I think it was nice in a way because I was like, I'll leave you guys to it. You can all fight for airtime. You can all fight and do whatever you want. And, it was very competitive. And I just kind of sat in my own lane. And that's always how I've lived my life, just in my own lane, enjoying life, doing my own thing. And I had started my blog, and it kind of just worked from there. It was like, I was documenting the outfits that I was wearing as I filmed, and then I would upload blog posts when the show aired with what I was wearing and linking the outfits before you could get commission for linking. But so that's kind of how I started working with brands. But that was the aim really for me. I thought, I have a year to play around with because all of my friends and contemporaries they took the gap year. They were a year behind me essentially. So I thought, I have a year to play around with. Let's go into this with a business mind and see what can happen.
I think that's so smart. I feel like when you were on that show, things were different. It wasn't just, you would go viral overnight on
Yeah.
Instagram and then you had this huge following. It was being able to get airtime or some kind of PR that would get you out there. So I think
Yeah.
it's so smart at a young age to think, okay, I know I want to build a brand. I know the success to having a brand is going to be having an audience. Why don't I do this? Like, this is going to be such a straight path. So how did all of that come about, and how did you find yourself even in the situation in a pilot where you were bringing people in?
So it was when I was in my last year at Goldsmiths. And actually, just before I went to Goldsmiths, I was asked to do another show with friends. And my friend Amber was like, do you want to do this like fun thing with me? Blah, 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 blah. We ended up just like doing the pilot. I don't even know. I mean, it's so long ago now. And then I bought in like Hugo, Spencer, all of that lot. And it just kind of went from there.
And how was that experience? Is it real? Is it not real? Is it very produced?
So it's a reality show, but it is real. It's completely real. Obviously, the scenes are set up because it's a reality show. It's glossy, so you have to turn up somewhere at a time. But it was real and it was really tough at times, but I genuinely don't regret anything because it enabled me to start my business. And I wouldn't have been able to save up to start my business and own 100% still to this day had I not had this incredible opportunity. And you know what? It was really before there were loads of reality shows around. I think there was one other at the time, and we were doing something that was a huge risk, but it was also, it kind of paid off. The market wasn't as saturated as it is now. And it was a wild experience. And the fans and Twitter, I remember people were just like mean and rude the whole time. And it was savage, people selling stories on you. But genuinely, as I said to you before, like, I'm not competitive and I always stayed in my own lane. Like, if someone wants to call me pale and someone wants to call me whatever, like, I genuinely didn't care. I'm just like, oh, great. Okay. But I think you look like shit. So I'm just not going to choose. I would never message anyone online and say that. But I'm like, look at their little profile picture on Twitter or Instagram and be like, kind of laughs on you. Because like, genuinely great if you feel that way about me. But like, I'm happy.
Yeah. I'm trying to think about timings for all of our audience in the US. Was it around the same time as, do you know Laguna Beach in the Hills?
Yes.
It was, right?
It was just after that, yeah. So that's when it really kicked off in America. And then in the UK, there was only, I think, one other show that had like just had one series.
Yeah.
So we were very much at the beginning before everything else here.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It sounds like similar time, and it's so interesting. Being in the US, a lot of the entrepreneurs that I see have done so well actually started on shows like that too.
Yeah.
Before it was, growing a following on Instagram, they got some kind of start. They got to start their own personal brand in that way, and it really evolved very naturally for them. And to see what they've built now, I just think to be that smart and switched on so young, because really, how old were you when you started the show? Must have been quite young.
20, 21.
Yeah, so to even, to go in even thinking, okay, I know what I'm going to get out of this. I know what my long-term plan is. I'm not here to be in the drama or whatever, is so smart. Because I think about myself at 20 and I wasn't even thinking like that. It's so interesting. Just, seeing how you were so, okay, here's my path, here's where I want to go, here's all the paths I could probably take, I'm going to choose this one. Was it hard to keep yourself out of big drama and, like you say, the competitiveness of it? Or did you feel like, oh, if I don't, get involved in everything that's going on, am I going to be dumped from the show? Or was there ever any thoughts like that?
Yeah, it was savage at times. I got like savaged by friends.
On the show?
Yeah. I think it was like everyone for themselves, and I did not partake in that. And I'll give you an example. I've actually never properly like put it out there and said like what happened or whatever. But like Millie accusing me of getting with Hugo, like, never happened. And I was abused by the country. And the way that the show was filmed was, it was like the end of the series, I think. It was like, I didn't get my right to reply. And it made it look like it was just her word against mine. It was like, you hooked up with Hugo. And it was like, no, I didn't. You've already cheated on him. He's already cheated on you. I have not gone near him. He's tried it, but like it hasn't happened.
Yeah.
And it was like led to believe that I had done this awful thing and I didn't have the right to reply. And then suddenly everyone's like, you're a whore, you're a slut. And I'm like, okay, that's funny because I'm actually not.
Wow.
But then it was like, you know, then I had all of these newspapers and magazines be like, sell your story, tell your side of the story. And I just, that's not me. And I thought, if the public want to believe what they want to believe, fine. I know what my friends believe and all of our mutual friends know, and they know the truth and how unhappy they were as a couple at the time and that kind of thing. And it was just kind of like, for me, I more just thought, oh God, you've really done something in order to gain yourself. And like, I believe in karma. So me personally, I'm like, I'll let the universe deal with this.
Yeah, I saw a Mel Robbins quote recently and it really resonated with me for other reasons, but it was, you don't always have to tell your side of the story. Time will.
Yeah, that is so apt. Yeah.
I remember reading that and just thinking, oh, because there's been times where I've also felt like, oh, I need to jump in and defend myself. I need to jump in and tell my truth or whatever. And I thought, for what? For what?
For who? Yeah. Exactly. As long as you know what happened, the people around you and your close friends know what happened, that's really all that matters. For me, again, as I said, like I always kept to my own lane. It wasn't me trying to one up anyone. Like I couldn't care less. Like if you want to try and one up me, then you're obviously jealous of me in some way, shape or form. So like, we'll leave it at that. That's not who I am as a person. So it got really hard in that respect, but also that was more like shame on the mother on Instagram who's like DMing me, calling me a whore and a this, that and the other. And I look at these people and I'm like, I feel sorry for you. I feel sorry for your children. You've got children and you're an adult woman or you're whoever and you're messaging me, calling me a whore. Sometimes when people message me now and say something, I literally reply and I'm like, I'm embarrassed for you. I'm embarrassed for you that you are so affected by this now, that you're watching a reality show and that you genuinely think it's acceptable to message someone something like that on Instagram or wherever. Like, I'm embarrassed for you.
It shocks me. I was just listening to a podcast on the drive-in. It was Pia Baroncini, I think I'm saying her name right. And she was saying she gets so much, all this hate, all these comments. And she was like, sometimes I really just want to take that person's profile and just like tag their employer or like tag their boyfriend and say, do you realize this is who your partner is? Or do you realize this is who's working for you?
Yeah. I was actually showing this to a friend the other day. Like, there's somebody who keeps writing like really inappropriate shit to me on Instagram, but like filth, right? And like I've blocked them now, but like their profile picture is like some man holding his like child in a what's it called, car seat, walking out of hospital. And I thought, that is the father of someone's child, the potential husband of somebody, and I'm like unwell.
Do you ever just want to put them on blast? I'd be like, claim your man.
Whose man is this? Can someone lock him up and just sort him out, please?
That would probably be my response.
Yeah.
Come and get your man.
Someone come and collect your man.
So going into, so you went on that show, and was it 2-3 years and you started your blog? How long?
No, I actually started the blog from the very beginning.
Okay.
It had just started and I started it with Amber and then took it over on my own. Started it from the very beginning. And then with the brand, I had launched Rosie Fortescue Jewellery just as I was leaving. And I knew at that stage that I didn't want the brand to be just associated to the show. and just bought by fans of the show. So I knew that my time was up, and I knew that it was really time to launch my business and leave. And by that stage, it was kind of like I was just sick of talking about other people's relationships, because I was never giving that side of my life. It was just a lot of talking about other people's relationships and who cheated on who. And it was just time to go.
What made you not want to talk about that side of your life in the show?
I have just always been a private person. And for me, a lot of it was, you know, the more you give, the more you get out. But for me, I got out what I wanted to get out. I built my business. I bought a property. I had enough money saved to start my business. And those were my two aims. So for me, I was like, I don't need to sell my soul in order to be a bit greedy and gain more potentially. I was happy with what I told myself I wanted to achieve.
Yeah, that makes sense. So when you started your blog and then you went on the show, did you notice it really started to grow from that?
Yeah, I think so. And I think also just the interest from working with brands, which for me, I'd always loved fashion. I'd always loved design. I'd always loved this curation of an outfit. So for me, I mean, as much as I look back and I'm like, God, I dressed like shit. But I really loved that, the visual aspect of creating the blog posts and all of that. So it worked well. It just enabled my creativity. And then I just really felt like I was ready to piece everything together, to build a business, to work at something from scratch and really see it grow.
And what was that like when you had your blog, you were growing that, you decided you were going to start your jewelry company? What was that like, making the decision to start with no investment and just really from the ground up? Like, where would you even begin with that?
So I am somebody who I really like to kind of learn on the job. And I knew that as much as I had no idea about business or anything, I was good at maths and I was super, super organized and I was determined. And I think for me, I was ready to work nights, weekends, anything that it would take. I really had that in me and I knew that. And I knew some people, I think, don't understand how much work it is. You know, you can never switch off. I'm 8.5 years in and I've never once not woken up and thought about something I need to do, or, you know, I still go away and I think I cannot switch off. But I knew I had it in me. So I just worked from the ground up. I mean, everything from like the website to the design. I actually had somebody at the very beginning who helped me with the factory, who I swiftly got rid of. So I had the introduction to the factory there, which I guess is a big main step. But everything from just, you know, I draw like a child, which is really unfortunate, but the factory are amazing. And I still work with this factory. They're still my main factory. I work with other factories now, but they're still my main factory. And they didn't mind. They did the CAD drawings for me, which was amazing.
That's incredible.
Yeah. Because lots of people are like, oh, who does your CAD drawings and how does it work? But actually I would send them my drawings. I would do all of the measurements, write really good descriptions for each sample, send them the drawings and they would make the CADs. And from the CADs, I can very quickly kind of understand whether something is right or wrong.
I love that. And what I'm hearing, and I hear this with every successful entrepreneur, is resourcefulness. There's never, oh, you know, I don't know how to do that. Oh yeah, I wouldn't be able to figure that out. It's like, okay, I want to start a jewelry company. I believe I can. What are the steps? Okay, well, I need to draw it. I need to get it designed. I need to get it manufactured. It's just like you go one by one by one.
Yeah, literally, I was learning on the job and I absolutely loved it. I didn't have a business plan until 3 years ago when I did this Goldman Sachs 10,000 small business program. I just winged it and it was my money and I was careful with it and I did everything. I think when did I hire my first employee? Like 3 years in. I did it all. My mum used to help me with fulfillment as well. Then I got my first office and I just slowly grew it. I had no intention of really like blowing it up from the start and throwing money at the situation and giving away equity. This is a lifetime passion project for me. And it really was something I still love every single day that I go into the office. I have no one breathing down my neck telling me what to do. I love that I'm the boss. I love that I call the shots. I work my ass off still. And I really, really love it. And I'm still learning, you know?
I think that's such an interesting decision too. And I always sit on both sides of the fence, where I would say now I'm kind of in the middle. I obviously, started in the beginning, there was no one, just like answered to no one, ground up. We grew to having, this office in LA and tons of employees. And then COVID hit, forced us to like figure out. And now I would say I'm in the middle. Like I think we have 13 on the team. So I still do answer to people.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, did I prefer it when I didn't answer to a single person? Do I prefer it now where I have a team of people way smarter than me? Like which one did I prefer? And what's really interesting is, and I speak to a lot of entrepreneurs about this, they were never so intentional about what they wanted in the beginning, and they weren't so intentional about maybe wanting to be their own boss or having that freedom. I wasn't, and I felt like I went on this magic carpet ride of shoulds in business.
Mm-hmm.
I should hire this employee, I should get this fancy office, I should do this, I should do that. And then when I had my baby, I was like, firstly, I have no freedom, and I'm going to need a bit more freedom in this. Secondly, I look around, I'm like, did I really want to create this business? I don't know.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting, because what I'm hearing so much from all of the parts of your journey is how intentional you've been. Even when you talk about being on the show and saying, you got from it what you came for, and then you decided, okay, I'm going to move on to my next chapter. I'm not going to like sell out to push for more. I think, and same with your business, that's so intentional. Like, where did you get that perspective to do this so intentionally?
That's so sweet of you. And now you're saying it like that, it does seem very intentional, but I'm not sure. I don't set myself goals with like timelines, and I'm not somebody, as I said, who's sort of competitive. I just go with me and how I want to do things. And obviously, I have to be intentional in a way that's quite fast with business in order to grow, and you have to plan ahead. But I don't set like mega targets and mega figures and really knuckle down. I genuinely have built this business through enjoyment, and it's been successful, which I've been eternally grateful for. It could have gone one or two ways, but I think my determination from the start was always going to be positive for me and for this business. And I think just the hours of work I've slaved away, everything I've learned along the way, I think you can make it work if you have that determination and that intention. But I think it's funny that, you were saying now you're in the middle, and I'm launching a new business later this year with my twin sister that is a very sort of problem-solving business. And that business is not going to be a hobby, put it that way. I think we're really excited by our idea, and I'm really, really excited to launch a different side of business that is problem solving as opposed to sort of accessorizing your life.
Right.
And I think that is going to change me and maybe fuel a different hunger from within me.
Yeah, that's so interesting. But I also think it's great that you've got the perspective of you've tried it one way.
Yeah.
And you've enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And now there's a curiosity of what's the other way versus being thrown in at the deep end. Like, oh my goodness, I went far too fast, far too quick. Now what have I built?
Yeah. I think what's so scary, and I think for me as well, like I hate the idea of just sort of spending someone else's money and just throwing it around. Mm-hmm. Would these people build their businesses had it all been their own money? Like, would they be throwing money like that at a situation? I have so many friends that have taken investment and run businesses into the ground in like a couple of years because they have just thrown cash at a situation. Any business can grow if you throw cash at a situation, but is it going to be profitable if you've suddenly got 50 employees? Probably not.
Right.
I think for me with the jewelry, there was always just such a sweet spot of this profitability, but also having the right amount of employees, but also enjoying a certain lifestyle for myself as well. And for me, I work like a dog and I want to treat myself. And that just, makes me happy.
I love it. And I know that's going to resonate with a lot of people listening to this podcast, because definitely the theme of the women who listen are wanting businesses that help them build freedom. They're not necessarily here to raise a ton of money and be on that hamster wheel. Yeah. They have these life goals. Yeah. And I think business and entrepreneurship is such a beautiful vehicle for helping you get there. Like when I think about that for myself, it's been such a vehicle to get me where I am and where I want to go, but it's not everything, and I'm not going to give my entire life to it. I want it to fuel my life.
Yeah.
But it takes that intention, because it can so easily go the other way.
Oh God, yeah. And also the responsibility, like some days I wake up, I'm like, I wish someone was paying my pension, someone paid my salary, I knew how I was paying my rent every month, and I knew, you know, the extra of what I could spend. And sometimes I'm like, oh my God, like, you know, and then you're responsible for other people and paying their pensions and their rent and everything like that. And sometimes it would just be so easy to have some set days off of the year and just a salary, but this is what fuels me in my life. And I wouldn't have had the life I've had without, I don't think, you know, being on a salary and working for someone else. I like the freedom of, as you've spoken about, and I love the life that I've created for myself, and I'm super grateful.
I love this. So what's been some of the more challenging moments in business? What's been hard?
I think for me, hiring, I find really difficult. Really difficult. COVID bred a breed of employees that love to work from home.
Yeah.
And I don't love to work from home. I think there's a joy for me in getting up in the morning, getting dressed and going to an office and being around people where we can bounce ideas off each other. And that's really how I like to run my business. Even when I was hiring last year, you know, in all of the ads, office-based, everyone's, you know, wet hair in a tracksuit on Zoom. I would only do Zoom interviews I think that's what made it quite easy post-COVID, that you could do a 5-minute Zoom interview. Within seconds, I know whether I like someone or not.
Yeah.
Without being too savage. Wet hair in a tracksuit at 10 a.m., unacceptable.
Yeah. And when people don't think about the backgrounds.
Oh my God.
And you just think this is a job. Like I always think about, am I being too harsh? And I think about, no, if I was interviewing for a job, I wouldn't be having like my unmade bed in the background.
No, God, no. But do you know what? I did another podcast recently where you talk about your sort of business superpowers, and mine is discipline. And I am disciplined up to my eyeballs.
What's your sign?
Capricorn.
Same.
Are you?
Capricorns are so disciplined.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am disciplined up like to the nth degree, and I love it. Yeah. I get up, I do my workout, I drink my AG1, I take all my vitamins, I get ready for the day, I put on an outfit that makes me feel empowered, I put on my jewelry, I'm ready to go. Like getting up, doing something for me. I listen to podcasts as soon as I finish working out. I get in the shower, and that for me, that discipline makes me so happy. I'm set up for the day. I'm raring to go. If I'm interviewing someone who at 10 a.m. has got wet hair, like we're not gonna get on.
I feel like I'm nodding, so I'm like, oh, now it makes so much sense that you're a Capricorn. Like I just know my friends listening to this who call me out for being so Capricorn are like, oh my God, she would say the exact same thing. Like that wouldn't be a good fit for me, because I'm like on it.
Yeah, I'm get up and go. And then someone tries, you're at the end of the interview and you're like, oh, I like this person. And they're like, so, you know, would there be scope to have like 1 or 2 days working from home? I'm like, hell no. Honestly, you've just wasted my time. That really pisses me off. In the, you know, the advert for the job, it says 9 to 5 in the office. And it's 9 to 5. We never stay late. The office is lovely. Like, come on. Yeah. It's not strenuous work. So I think hiring for me, it was really, really hard. And then I hired a manager who was like late every day. Every day.
I can't with the late.
Every day. Left her keys behind, late every day. I'm like, how can I help you? You live 20 minutes away. How can I help you? And that was not a fit. And then actually, I have someone amazing who works for me now who is so divine. And it just really, really, it changes everything. Once you've got your team nailed, it's just a delight.
It's the best.
Yeah.
And honestly, like I talk about this a lot, but I don't feel like to stand out in this job market, or honestly, as a business owner right now is that hard, because not people are trying to do the minimum.
Yes.
And get away with it.
Yes.
I see that all the time. And my team that I have now, I'm so grateful for. But to be quite honest, I have had to let 2 people go in the last, let's say, 6 months, because when you have a team of A players who they're there on time, even virtually, they're there on time, they care about the work, every T is crossed and I is dotted. When you have people that don't necessarily have those same values, it puts other people off.
Oh, for sure.
And it's not just you, but I remember reading somewhere the most common reason an A player will leave is because they're working alongside B players. And that's always stuck with me, because every time now I've noticed someone on the team not pulling their weight, not just for a short amount of time, but like over and over and trying to phone it in and stuff like that. I'm like, it's my responsibility to let this person go, because it's going to mean that I lose people that actually care.
Yeah.
It's
no,
hard.
That's so interesting.
I know.
And it's so true though as well. Like, honestly, it's so true. That sort of, the atmosphere, the vibe, the energy in a team and an office is so important. And if one person's slacking and getting away with it, it kind of puts the downer on everyone else that's trying hard.
Yeah. But listen, for everyone listening, I mean, you're obviously one of those doing the most because you're listening to this kind of podcast. But even hiring we've been doing lately, sometimes we'll get on calls and the things people say, I just think, oh my goodness, I would never do that if I was looking for a job. And it feels like to stand out, you just have to be like, you have to give a shit. And it's not that hard. So interesting.
It's wild. It's wild. I don't know what's...
Something's happened from COVID.
Something has happened and it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's honestly crazy.
It's interesting. But then it means when you do find someone, like you said, like the person you've got, you hold on to them and you look after them, and people like that will continue to grow and see that.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I love that. So I want to go back. Okay, started your brand. What was your marketing plan and how did you think about bringing customers in? Because I know that's such a minefield when you start a business. Like, okay, I've got the idea, I'm going to get it made, but how am I going to bring people in? How are people going to buy? Because even just having an audience doesn't mean people are automatically going to buy from you.
So I had my blog still when I started the brand, and then I also, Instagram had started. So it's kind of a mixture between the blog and Instagram, and my blog had been going for years and years by that stage, and I had a good following on there who then kind of translated over to Instagram. So I think like the timing was right, and I was quite lucky in that respect. It sounds crazy because I've just told you I'm like super, super organized, but I have actually never sat down and like made plans, marketing plans, or set goals and targets. I think I just went along with it. I had this routine from my blog where I was documenting my outfits anyway, so the jewelry just fit into that. And I create jewelry that I want to wear. So basically, like, I live and breathe the brand, genuinely, absolutely adore it. And I think that just came off genuinely. And also, I was just wearing it the whole time. I was out and about. I was at events. I was seeing friends. And I think just sort of word of mouth helped as well.
So when you were creating content from your blog from the beginning, did you have in your mind, eventually I will have a fashion brand or a jewelry brand?
No. Jewelry for me, I've been a magpie for as long as I can remember, and you're wearing one of my rings. And
I know. Tell me about what I'm wearing. So I'm obsessed.
That's the new pear drop collection.
Okay, stunning.
And you've got the same size fingers as me, which is a J, which is small. And basically, I'd bought rings from brands before and always found it really hard to find a small size. So for as long as I've worked since I was like 16, as I told you, like the odd jobs here and there, and I would treat myself. I remember I bought these rings from Net-a-Porter, these 3 gold bands. I actually wore them on Made in Chelsea, and like ASOS copied them. I remember I was like fuming because I spent like 300 quid, 200 quid on these rings, and I was like, you fucking kidding? And they tarnished after like 2 weeks. I was like, are you kidding me? I've spent 200 and something pounds on these rings. And they were just like gold plated on, I think, brass. I don't even know. Well, they went like blue, so brass. And when I started my brand, I was like, it has to, look like real diamonds, be really good quality CZs, but then also be good quality. So like 95% of everything I make now is plated on sterling silver still. It's vermeil, so it's 2.5 micron plated. It's like a thick plating, and it's great quality for the price.
It is stunning quality. And these earrings too.
So those earrings like blew up when I launched them, and they sold out and sold out and sold out. And I have to say, I'm obsessed with them myself. I wear them to death. And
I've seen them on your store. I'm like, oh my God, they are incredible. I need them.
Oh,
I'm
thank
obsessed.
you.
You're going to see me wearing them constantly
Yay.
now. So was that always a thoughtful process you had from the beginning of, here's exactly who I want to target, here's how I want to do it? Like, did you know who your ideal client would be?
Yeah, so for me, there was like, it was a very small demi-fine market at the time. I think I would describe my jewelry as demi-fine because it's plated on sterling silver, but it was a really small market at the time. And for me, I knew that that was going to be my price point. And then as much as possible, I just wanted to keep my pricing down. I wanted it to be not just something that you would buy for birthday or Christmas for a friend or for yourself or save up for. I wanted it to be accessible enough. Obviously, it's not all accessible price-wise, but I wanted it to be accessible enough that you could have a crappy week and treat yourself, or you could buy for a friend for her birthday, or just treat yourself because why the hell not?
Why not?
And yeah. And so for me, that keeping the pricing down was really important.
And how have you managed thinking about buying inventory, being able to predict, you know, what's going to sell out? Am I going to be holding loads of this stock? How have you thought about that? Because that's such a, in a product-based business, it's such a consideration.
It's been really difficult, to be honest. That's been the one struggle, because I never go on sale officially.
Right.
So what I wanted as well with the brand, that it wasn't going to be seasonal. It was, you know, pieces that you could keep for life. And that was really difficult because I took someone on who was managing that. And did they do a bad job? Yes. So I was left with so much stock of so many things that I was like, how has this happened? How have I allowed this to happen? And I really hated myself for hiring that person, because I delegated and I let them do their role. And it was the first time that I really regretted giving up part of the business and allowing somebody to take control in a side that I wasn't fully overseeing. And that really annoyed me, because then we had to put things on sale in order to sell through the inventory. And that was not really what I wanted the business to be. It's not seasonal. It's not going to go on sale automatically, and it certainly won't be. You know, we do the odd discount, but that was not the purpose of the brand to ever launch it, that it would be this seasonal, you know, that fast fashion effect vibe. It was very much like, this is going to be something that you treat yourself, that you're going to have for life. It's not going to go in and out of fashion.
And how have you found marketing campaigns not being a kind of a seasonal brand? You know, is there a way that you think about email marketing or any of your social campaigns where you can still generate that level of excitement that you might get, say, if you're putting a sale out there, but without doing that?
I mean, we do Black Friday, and we do some sort of discounts if it's for my birthday or that sort of thing. Okay. But we actually tend to do more with emails. We tend to just give discounts to customers to reward them for how many times they've shopped, which I think is nice, because you're really being loyal to the people that are supporting your business, like through and through.
I love this. Okay. I want to ask you some London questions for any of our American listeners who want to come visit, which I know we have a lot. I want to get all of your recommendations. I'm going to create a Rosie's Guide to London. Oh. Okay. So if we're talking to an American who's never been to London before, so I want you to pretend they're coming in blind completely. Okay. Where should they stay?
Okay, so you've just stayed at Chiltern Firehouse, which I love. Stunning hotel, great food, but I just love the courtyard. The bar is so good. I love the martinis there.
It's so cozy.
It is so cozy in winter. The courtyard in the summer is so nice. I love it. I love walking around there. I actually don't spend much time around there. Love Chiltern if you're going to stay. They just opened the hotel at Sloane in Chelsea if you want to do more Chelsea vibes, by Sloane Square. That's the same owners as Hotel Coste in Paris.
Amazing.
Really chic. It's got a really nice bar downstairs, kind of like cool vibes downstairs. Restaurant-wise, I'm obsessed with food and good drinks. For a long time, I've been obsessed with Gold in Notting Hill.
Okay.
Incredible food, great drinks, great vibes. Opposite Gold on Portobello is a restaurant called Zephyr, which is Greek. Love Greek food, all the dips, great cocktails too. It's a fish restaurant on the King's Road called Chikama, which I love.
Yes, I've been there. I love it.
I'm allergic to gluten, so for me, if I find gluten-free puddings that are banging, I am there time and time again. They've got a blackened baked cheesecake, and then they've got this banana yuzu, like it's got this like marshmallowy burnt on top pudding.
Sold.
Oh, I'm unwell. It's so good.
Sold.
Where else do I love?
And then for someone that wants to get their steps in, they want to go on a good walk and see some things.
A good walk, see some things. I love walking around Hyde Park, around the Serpentine. So lovely. My twin sister lives nearby. We always walk around there with her kids. Love that so much. And it's just so pretty. And even if you're on your own and you just want to get some steps in, plug in a podcast, go for a walk.
That's my favorite. In a new city, I love doing that.
Yeah. I've just moved to a new area actually, and I just love walking around at the moment. I walk everywhere on the weekends. I walk to the park. If I'm walking to Notting Hill for lunch, I just love to get some steps in. I never used to be that girl, but now just plugging in a podcast, listening to some good music or calling a friend, I'm really up for walking. And London actually is so beautiful and
so easy for walking around.
It's so good for walking.
I had this podcast concept where I want to do 10K episodes where I want to see how long it takes to walk 10,000 steps and create a podcast that's for that
length.
Yeah. And then
that's
halfway
amazing.
through the podcast be like, okay, you've walked your 5,000. We're halfway there.
That's such a good idea.
Because I love just putting it on, not thinking about how many steps I'm doing, but then to be told along the way or a quarter of the way there, stop and get a coffee. That's my dream is to, I travel a lot and I love the day that I get to a new city, put my headphones in. If I've got nowhere, we get the stroll out and just walk. Just do my 10,000 steps somewhere and just see the place.
I don't always get my steps in and I don't really count them, but I know when I've kind of been at my desk. Normally when I get to the office as well, I'm such a loser. I make lunch boxes and take them in.
Oh, wait, tell me what's in your lunch.
At my desk. So I always used to just get Deliveroo, and then you'd be so disappointed when you've waited 45 minutes for something and it arrives and it's wrong. And again, I'm allergic to gluten and prawns, and I never have my EpiPen with me. So I always just felt like there was this risk of just danger ordering. So I make lunch boxes and I go through motions with them. It's either, we have a microwave in the office as well. In the winter, I was doing loads of brown rice. I would make the baked salmon at home, and lots of broccoli, peas, greens, sriracha, soy sauce, just loads of it in a big bowl together at my desk, chili flakes, done. That's
so elaborate for a lunch. I love it.
Is it?
Oh my God, I'm like a sandwich girl.
Are you?
But I'm squeezing it in 5 minutes.
Yeah. And then, but the thing is I'll make the night before I'll make for the next day and the next day. So it's kind of done. It doesn't take long for me.
Okay.
And then at the moment, I'm really into chicken thighs.
Same.
With, what's it called? Harissa, baked with harissa, sliced up with roasted butternut squash, courgette, red pepper.
Wow.
Red onion, garlic, loads of veggies, maybe some brown rice as well. Just nice food at my desk. It really feels like a treat for me. And again, I actually really enjoy cooking. So if I'm at home and I can make 2 lunch boxes for the next couple of days, and I know I'm going to be at my desk from I never go in at 9, but I'll go in a bit later at 10:30. If I'm literally sitting down, apart from when I go to the loo, from 10:30 to 5, at least the joy of having nice home cooked food for me just makes me happy.
I love that. This is inspiring me. I always cook for dinner, but I find my lunch, I'm so grab and go.
Yeah.
I could up my game a little bit. I'm inspired.
I'm not where the office is in Parsons Green. There aren't really grab and go Pretz or whatever like that nearby. So it is more of a Deliveroo vibe. So for me, I'm I'm happy to make it. Yeah.
Okay. Tell me about some of your favorite podcasts. Who are you listening to when you're on your walks, on your morning routine?
Okay. So yours, obviously.
Thank you.
I listen to I listened to My Therapist Ghosted Me with Vogue and Joanne, and that's like a proper laugh. I listen to my friend Brian. He has a podcast called Beyond the Mat. I listen to loads. I listen to Erin and Sarah Foster's podcast.
Oh, yeah.
They changed the name of it. It used to be called The World's First Podcast.
I don't know. I've just listened to them on the Him and Her show, and
They're really good. They're really good. Even when they're just chatting about business, I just like to hear people chat. Like sometimes I don't want to actually listen. I love Stephen's podcast. Sometimes I'll listen to them on like a Saturday or a Sunday when I know that I'm at home for much longer and I'm doing laundry, working out, washing my hair, drying my hair. It's a whole process. You know what I mean? When you're at home, longer stint, because his podcast is so long.
Yeah.
But I love Erin and Sarah's. Theirs is so good. Who else? God, why have I had a mental blank?
I'm curious too. Because I feel like I'm kind of living between two worlds now. Having a house here, I'm kind of like starting to integrate back into like Britain, what it's like, and like all the British things that I like, British podcasts, British brands, like I'm integrating back in. But I've been in America for so long. I'm curious if you're listening to any kind of American podcast, do you notice a big difference in terms of business and entrepreneurship in the US versus the UK?
Oh, for sure. 100%. The economy in America is 10 times better than in the UK right now. That's really what I'm learning. And it kind of makes me sad when I listen to these podcasts and everyone's talking about growing and investing and all of this stuff. And I'm like, I think from what a lot of my friends are saying, a lot of my friends actually have brands. It just feels like we're playing survival of the fittest right now. And I congratulate myself for surviving the day. And I just feel like we're in the thick of it with the economy right now. And it's really tough and it's a struggle. And I feel like post-COVID was so much better. There has been this horrific dip since the end of last year where business has been tough. And it's so sad that this is what is happening to the country. And it's tough.
I really appreciate that you're talking about it and saying it, because I do think sometimes too in business it can feel like you've got to put on this front of like everything's fine, that meme where you're like everything's fine,
you're just like strapped in.
Fine. And when the economy isn't in a great place, being an entrepreneur is really scary and really challenging. And like you say, every day, every week, you're like just grateful I'm making it through. It's really challenging because there's no safety net to fall back on.
No.
You're responsible for yourself, but for other people.
Absolutely. And I think it's really sad, but I feel like, my business is going to be 9 years old in October, and I've come this far. Like, I'm not failing now, but it's tough because it makes it harder, but I like a challenge. I also feel like I'm in my 30s now. I'm 34, and these are the best years of your life. I know that people are like, when they're in your 20s, they're like, oh, I don't want to be 30. Like, honestly, I've never been happier. I've never been more confident in who I am and what I want and what I'm able to achieve. And I just think I've survived so much shit in my past. Like, I can survive this, so let's go.
I love it. Okay, some quick fires.
Yeah.
So if someone is brand new to your brand and wants to go and pick maybe 2 to 3 things to get started, what are the most popular, or what do you think they should start with to start building a collection?
Oh, such a cute idea. I think definitely a tennis bracelet would be a really good start, or a tennis necklace. So classic, easy to wear. With our rings, I would say maybe the rainbow emerald cut ring is really, that was really been a bestseller for years and years, and those rings make me so happy. And then maybe the skeleton earrings that you're wearing.
I think these have to be a must.
I've never had waitlist before. I've never sold from pre-order ever, but the demand and oh my God, I've never seen anything like it when I launched those earrings. It was madness.
Yeah, how did you have the idea for them? They're so different.
I had designed them years ago, and I don't know why. I just didn't launch them because I didn't feel like they fit a collection. But then I started wearing the samples and people were like, holy shit, what? When are they launching? And I think because you can wear them in the day and you can wear them at night, and then brides were buying them and then everyone wanted them. And I've just never seen that reaction before.
Yeah.
So I just thought they actually don't need to be part of a collection. They can be on their own. And then I did a matching necklace. So I launched them in gold with white stones. Then I think they sold out in a day. I launched them in...
Was that not insane?
I died. I died. And then I was like, oh my God, I'm going to have to put on pre-order. And I've never done this before, but I'd already actually, because of the fuss that people were making every time I wore them, I'd actually already ordered with the factory because normally the wait is 8 weeks. So I think it was only a 4-week pre-order, which I think was manageable for people. So I kept on making sure that I had stock with the factory coming. So then if they sold out again and the pre-order went on, it was only for 3 to 4 weeks. And I think that that is what made people happy to part with their money, because I would never personally really do that. And then I launched in silver with white stones and silver with pastel and gold with rainbow and pink. And yeah, so
I mean, genius. And where do you ship to?
we ship worldwide. Yeah. And I
Okay.
actually just changed all of my shipping. It's so difficult for a business like mine to pay for everyone's duties. And, you know, I did not vote for Brexit. When I get a customer who's angry, who emails me and says, why am I paying duties? Firstly, we do write it at checkout that you're going to have to. I didn't fucking vote for Brexit. Whoever didn't have a friend that had a business in the UK.
It was such a shitty decision.
It was the worst decision ever. And it's really unfortunate because I used to have, I'd say 20% of my business was Irish customers who I love. And I lost 18% of them overnight, which is so sad. But what I have done is I've really just lowered all of my shipping rates for worldwide. And we actually do free shipping to the US.
Oh my God, amazing. For anyone listening who doesn't know, Brexit was when the UK decided to leave the EU.
Yes.
Which was terrible. Terrible for
So
business
now
owners.
all European countries have to pay duties when they order from the UK, which is so sad.
Yeah. Well, okay, I'm going to link, I'll link below all of your links, but I'll link these specifically because I
Thank
think
you.
people are going to be obsessed. When I seen them on you, I was like, oh my God, I need to have them. I need to have them. And is this one of your tennis bracelets for anyone that's watching the video?
Tennis bracelets. And then these are my new earrings as well that I launched a couple of weeks ago, the pear drop collection that matches the ring.
So nice.
Thank you.
Okay, one more question for you in our quick fire. If you could go back to the Rosie that was just about to get started on Made in Chelsea, and could never, I'm sure, have predicted all of the things that would have ensued, what piece of advice would you have for her?
I would say keep your head down, stay in your lane, and you can do it.
I love it.
Just, keep going.
I love it. Well, thank you for being
Thank
here.
you so much.
This was so fun.
Thank you.
Where can anyone find you?
So Rosie Fortescue on Instagram, Rosie Fortescue Jewellery on Instagram, and Rosie Fortescue Jewellery website.
Amazing. I'll link everything below.
Thank you.